My most recent book is called Master of Deceit, J. Edgar Hoover in America in the Age of Lies. It's the first book on Hoover in some 40 years for young people or teenagers. And it was a hard book for me to write because I grew up in a very, very left community, and in which we all knew what to say about Hoover and McCarthy. There was a party line about every horrible thing they did, and they did horrible things. But it's also true that the left did horrible things. And to write a book that was honest and that was fair, absolutely fair to Hoover's crimes, but also fair to the degree in which the American Communist Party bullied people, did work with as an arm for the Soviet Union, that the Rosenbergs were guilty, that Alger most probably was guilty, meant in a sense to betray the world I had grown up with. The Rosenberg sons were my camp counselors one summer. And so I think learning the power of the community you're in and breaking out as an individual voice against that pack, that set of peers, that set of beliefs, that's what I fundamentally believe in. And maybe it's just like my story of modernism in the religious community, that moment where there's the cohesion and the breaking of the individual, and both are true. The importance of cohesion and the importance of the individual voice, that's what I'm always interested in. And so I think it is important to help kids to understand how that happens. And out of that comes bullying, and out of that comes prejudice. You know, my big conclusion in race, and in all, we're always prejudiced. People are prejudiced. It's when there's a lineup. Personal prejudice is echoed by societal beliefs, is echoed by laws, is echoed by, punishments done to your neighbors. When all those line up, really bad things happen. I was mentioning Stalin and how I may write a book about him. I was reading recently about the enforced famine in the Ukraine when Stalin starved to death some 3 to 5 million Ukrainians. And most people didn't resist this, the people who enforced it, because they knew to resist was to die. But some didn't resist because they actually convinced themselves that people who were starving to death were doing that to subvert communism. They managed to believe that if someone, it's blaming the victim. You see someone starving in front of you and it makes you uncomfortable, and you think, you're doing that to me. You're not dying. You're making me uncomfortable, so you must be doing that to me. And people actually believe this. And I do think it's important to get young people to break that narrative that circulates, that belief that circulates, and to recognize your individual voice matters. And maybe this is how this all ties together. What is nonfiction? It's learning your individual path through all of this history, how it all makes sense, so that you have a light on the present. I have an idea. I have a voice. I have an interpretation. And I want young people to have that courage. And so I think that's how it all kind of links together.